Welcome to day 2 of my series about the 12 things that I really wish I knew before I started on YouTube. And today we're going to dive into a major obstacle that is the enemy of consistency and can hurt your YouTube channel. This is an issue that I have personally dealt with my entire life. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that obstacle is, the 5 ways that it hurts your YouTube channel, and how we can overcome it. And here's the thing. I know for a fact that I'm not the only person who deals with this. In fact, Steven Spielberg dealt with it when he was filming the movie Jaws. See, when Spielberg was directing Jaws, he originally envisioned an entirely different movie. He thought that the shark was going to show up throughout the entire movie. But the problem was he kept having mechanical breakdowns and all kinds of issues with that mechanical shark that made that impossible. He wasn't able to shoot it the way that he thought that he was going to shoot it or the way that he wanted it to be on film. And so in order to actually get through the film, he could have just scrapped the project. He could have delayed shooting. He could have done a lot of different things. But instead, what he decided to do was just push forward, kind of give up that idea of the perfect shots that he was trying to get, and instead shoot the film without the shark in it that much, and instead rely on suspense to try to, build things in the audience and show little teasers and things like that throughout the movie that really built that sense of fear and suspense in the audience. And because he did that, it actually turned out really, really well. Like, Jaws obviously became a classic, and it became one of the, at the time, one of the scariest movies that everybody went crazy for, and people still go crazy for. It's a cult classic. It probably would have never happened if Steven Spielberg hadn't decided to just give up his perfectionism and instead move forward with the project and get it done. And that's the exact same thing that happens when you're a brand new content creator. See, here's the issue that I have personally struggled with throughout my time here on YouTube, and I know other people have as well. Perfectionism is the enemy of consistency. See, most of us have this picture in our heads of what is the end product and what it's going to look like. And we have this perfect picture of everything going well and everything going beautifully. But the reality is, most of the time, that's not the way it works. When you're shooting a video like this, you don't just sit down and bust through the entire thing and everything is perfect and you never flub a word and you never mess up and you never whatever. At least I don't. Those things happen all the time. If I stopped every time I screwed up on camera, this thing would take me forever to shoot. Same thing when I'm doing the edit and I'm going through that process. If I stopped every single time and I tried to fix every single little thing, it would take me forever. And I know this because I've actually done that. And there have been videos when I have spent that amount of time. So I can tell you that when you're trying to get videos out and you're trying to be consistent with your channel, and we talked about it in the video from day 1 of this series when we were talking about how consistency is one of the most important things that we can have. If you're trying to be consistent, then also trying to be perfect at the same time is probably not going to work. So today I'm going to share with you the 5 ways that this actually hurts your channel and how to overcome it so that it doesn't hurt your channel. And we're going to start with the first way, which is perfectionism leads to paralysis. If you have this vision and you're not able to give up on your vision of perfection, then it's going to end up paralyzing you to make changes. You end up spending so much time, like I said, with either shooting the intro. For this particular video, it took me, I don't even know how many times to get my intro down and for the first, whatever that is, 20 seconds or 30 seconds or however long that first beginning of the video is, it took me so many tries to film that because I kept messing up a word here, or I would say a word wrong, or I would forget my next line, or I would do whatever. And so I would constantly have to stop and go back and retry it again. The same thing happens to me when I'm doing editing. Like, there have been videos where I have literally sat down and started the edit and I go through 6-7 hours or whatever, and I'm still not finished. And there have been times when I have thought that I was good, thought that everything was fine and whatever. Like, the one that I did actually for day 1 of this video series, for day 1 on consistency, when I got done with it, I exported the project I use Final Cut Pro for my editing. I exported everything out of Final Cut Pro and waited forever, because you have to wait for, I don't know how long it was. It was probably about an hour or so, maybe 45 minutes for it to export that video. And then I sat there and I started to watch it, And one of my cuts was just a little bit too short. And it kind of cut off the end of one of the words that I was saying. You still absolutely could tell what I was saying, but it just cut it off just a little bit. And additionally, as I was watching through the rest of the video, I realized, oh, hell, I forgot to put up that little graphic that I usually put up that says, to hit the thumbs up button and like the video and to subscribe and whatever. And by the way, while we're here and we're talking about it, if you're getting any value from this video at all, or if you're enjoying it, do me a favor and hit that like button. But whatever. So I realized that I didn't put that in that video. And so because I'm a perfectionist and because I struggle with this so much, I actually ended up going back into Final Cut Pro, fixing those two little very, very minor issues. And then I had to re-export and go through the whole process again. It cost me probably an hour and a half extra just to do this a second time. When the reality is, if I would have just uploaded it the way that it was, would it really have been that bad? Would it really have been that big of a problem? See, perfectionism can either cause you great delays and keep you from staying on pace and staying on time and uploading the day that you're wanting to do it. Or in an extreme case, it can actually make you not upload at all. Because if you're such a perfectionist that you have to have everything right and you can't quite get there, then there can be times when you just scrap the whole thing and you go, you know what, this isn't worth it. I'm not even going to shoot this video today. I can't get through my lines. I can't get through the thing. I keep messing up. I'm just not going to do this today. And then maybe you never shoot that video. And maybe that video, this is Optimist Kevin here, maybe that one video is the one that would have been big for you. But because you decided not to do it at all, then you're missing out on that opportunity to actually get it. So perfectionism leads to paralysis when we're talking about this. How do we overcome that? Well, we set deadlines. Set deadlines for ourselves and figure out, how do I stick with those deadlines no matter what? If I set, hey, I'm going to edit for the next 2 hours, then if I'm not done, if I'm not finished with the edit in 2 hours, then whatever, it is what it is. And it's easier for me to say this than to actually do it. What I actually end up doing is kind of going over, but whatever, that's not important. For my advice is set the time. And if you go over it, don't go over it, and just stop and do it and upload it and let it be what it's going to be, because that's kind of, otherwise you're never going to get through this process. So the second way that this can hurt your YouTube channel is perfectionism drains creativity. If you're so hyper focused on all the little tiny details and the minutia of everything having to be perfect all the time, it will keep you from trying new things. It will keep you from thinking outside the box and doing things outside the box because you're so focused on the small details. So instead of doing that, we have to allow room for mistakes and allow room for us to kind of try different things and do different things. And really the goal should be to get a little bit better every time. And maybe you pick a topic. This is what I do, is I'll pick a topic that I want to get a little bit better at. So if I want to get better at storytelling, for example, then that will be my focus in this video. I want to get better at telling a story and keeping people engaged or whatever. Maybe it's your edit, maybe it's lighting, maybe it's audio, whatever the issue is. Pick a topic that's what I'm going to focus on trying to get better at, instead of getting so bogged down in all of those little details at the same time that you end up kind of not being creative in your process. So the third way that this hurts your channel is perfectionism actually slows down your growth. And the way that it does that, or the reason why it does that, is because of the way that it affects your consistency. In order to grow on YouTube, you have to be consistent. You have to put up these uploads. You have to put out videos, and you have to be open to the feedback that you're getting. So, and that feedback comes in the form not only of your analytics and looking at how the video is performing, what is my click-through rate? What is my average view duration? But it also comes down to like comments that you get from people. And you can get great comments from your viewers telling you, hey, in this part of the video, like, you spent too much time here, or you talked too much, or I got that one time, not on this particular channel, but on another channel that I had, I kept getting comments of people saying, you talk too much, you spend too much time on topics. And so you can learn from that. And if you're not doing it, if you're striving for perfection instead, you end up not putting out as many videos and you end up not having those opportunities to learn. The bottom line is the first videos that you put out, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means the first 5 videos that you put out or the first 10 or the first 100 that you put out are probably not going to be great. If you go back and you look at the early days of a lot of these huge channels, look at the early days of Mr. Beast's channel. It was not good. It was very different from what it is today. And that's fine. That's the way that it probably should be. And that's the way that it is for most big people, most big channels on YouTube. It's certainly the way that it is on my channel. When I go back and I look at the original, when I look at the first video on this channel, it was terrible. I have lighting problems. I have camera issues. I filmed in the wrong aspect ratio, and then I had to crop it a weird way. There was so many things wrong with it that it's hard for me to watch it. And even worse than that, when I look at the first video that I ever did on YouTube ever, which was like 2017, 2018, whatever that was, that first video was like atrocious. I couldn't even, when I tried to watch it, I couldn't even really get through it. But I think that's the way most creators are when you go back and you look at those older videos. So embrace that process and embrace the fact that I'm going to have bad videos in the beginning and just kind of roll with it and use that instead as a way to learn. But you have to keep uploading because that's how you get that feedback. So the fourth way that perfectionism can hurt your YouTube channel is perfectionism leads to burnout. When you're constantly chasing that perfect video and you're trying to make everything work out exactly the way that it's supposed to in your head, then all you're really doing is you're increasing the amount of time that you're spending shooting the video, you're increasing the amount of time for the edit, you're increasing everything, and you're piling on more work onto yourself that doesn't necessarily have to be there. I said in the first day of this series that one of the biggest reasons why YouTubers fail is because they quit. They quit too early. And most of the time, the reason why people quit too early is because they get burned out on this process. They make it too complicated and they overthink the whole thing. And I tend to do this a lot. Instead of just sitting down, why can't I just sit down and have a conversation with a camera? And maybe there's going to be an in there every now and then, probably a lot for me, or an or a but this. And in reality, like I have a lot of those transition words that I use, and it just happens for me. Why can't I just let that be okay? Why do I have to spend hours cutting out every single one and every single pause and every single everything? It leads to an inauthentic video, in my opinion anyway. It leads to an inauthentic video that I don't find those really all that enjoyable to watch. So I am trying as a creator to get better at this and to overcome this constant need to be right and this constant need to have everything that I wrote down in my bullet points come across when I'm actually shooting the thing. I'll be, again, completely transparent on this deal. I don't use like a script for these videos. I don't write out every single word that I'm going to say. I have bullet points on my laptop that I have pulled up and whatever, and little things that I want to touch on and say and whatever. But I don't script out the whole thing. And so for me, like I have to kind of in the moment try to think about this stuff without constantly trying to look down at the laptop, because nobody wants to see me doing the entire video like this going, okay, well, to overcome this, we need to set realistic expectations for every video. Like I could do that, but it's not going to be very engaging. So you have to be able to kind of balance both of those and not end up being rambly at the same time. So the fifth way that this actually impacts your channel is that perfectionism leads to undue pressure. It creates this sense of pressure in your head that, okay, well, I have to put it out on this day and it has to be perfect and I have to do this and I have to do that and my thumbnail has to have this element and all of those different things that you don't really need to have that pressure on you. It makes it feel like an obligation more than something that, again, is enjoyable for you to do. So instead of doing that, it's really a shift in your mindset of trying to get away from the idea that I'm going to get some sort of validation by having a perfect video and that people are going to love it because I didn't have any mistakes or whatever it is, and instead focus on being authentic. Focus on creating a connection with your audience, because most people will find these kind of videos where it's not perfect a lot more authentic for them to watch. Focus on that. Focus on creating those connections with your audience instead of trying to chase down that perfection. And I think, at least for me, it's going to make the whole process a lot more enjoyable to do. If I can focus on the message and the value that I'm providing to folks, hopefully there is value in the things that I'm talking about for people. And if that's the case, if I focus on that instead of technical perfection all along the way, then I think I'm going to be much better off in the end. So now that we've talked about the importance of consistency and how perfectionism is actually the enemy of consistency, the next thing we really need to talk about is how to make good titles for your videos. And to see that video, click this button right here. It'll be there just as soon as I'm done making it perfect for all of you. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of these tips and miss any of these 12 lessons of things that I really wish I knew before I started on YouTube, then make sure you click that button right there to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And I will see you on the next one.